So, Ann, let me come back to you and talk about the future of this business, as it were. How big is the bread box?
Well, let's just talk about how big is the need. By any dimension, we are looking at a need, a delta of $3.5 to $4 trillion a year needed to create a net zero world by 2050. And the scientists, the NGOs, governments would like to see us get halfway there by 2030, so or at least 45%. There just simply isn't enough money to do that in the current equation. Governments can't do it, philanthropy can't do it, and businesses are really not set up to do it. You will see more of that in the years to come, but we're talking about $4 trillion a year that is needed to fill this delta. Meanwhile, through some commitments that have been made, about 90% of the world is committed to some form of net zero. But the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, otherwise known as GFANZ, is a collection of 500 financial firms who have committed to be net zero. For financial firms to be net zero, all of their clients have to be net zero. That means not just big corporates, but middle market companies, small businesses, and ultimately consumers. So imagine that kind of task ahead of us to help clients and customers become first carbon neutral, ultimately net zero.
Tom, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about, because you and Ann worked on green financing when you were at Bank of America. If Rubicon Carbon had existed when you were doing that, how would it have made your life different, and how will it really interact in general with banks? I saw, by the way, Bank of America, I think, is an investor.
That's right. They are an investor. I think what Ann was just saying is that we think this product allows people to get at scale financing more frequently. And so we're hoping through Rubicon Carbon Capital that we'll be able to bring as much money as is necessary to help solve the problem. And David, the other thing is when you look at Rubicon Carbon Tons, it reminded me of the more liquid and the more people are able to invest in a simple manner, the more money comes into a product. And I always looked at it as I looked at the derivative market back then. When I was in the beginning of the derivative market, it was a very bilateral, not tradable market. And its growth largely came from the fact that people got together and had standard agreements and masters and did all the kind of things to make the market more liquid, which brought more money into that market. We hope by doing what we're doing now, we bring more money in to help solve some of the problems.
And how do you make money? How does Rubicon Carbon make money in success? Let's assume this all works perfectly. Where do you get your money from?
Well, there's a margin, if you will, on what we package for our clients. So that's how you make the money. And it is certainly less expensive for them than keeping an entire staff on call within their own operations. And it's completely unrealistic if you go down the food chain to middle, small market, and small businesses and consumers. So we'll make a fee for our services. I think that relative to what it would cost somebody to set something up, it will be de minimis. And this is really out of work that I want to sort of make a point about two different worlds that are coming together unexpectedly. In the NGO space, out of COP27, it was clear to the NGO community that we need to be able to find sources of funding that doesn't currently exist. And if the carbon credit market can be more transparent, the product's clearer, more forward-thinking, the people involved with, on the one hand, good financial background, but also understanding what the issues that the NGO world has, then that's for them a very good thing, and I think we will supply that. On the other side, we have Jim Coulter, Hank Paulson, Mark Miczinski, and others who pulled together Rise Climate and raised $7.5 billion for new investment in new technologies for this very same issue. So you have an investing community that's interested, you have an NGO community that's interested, and you have a client base that needs the help.
Tom, you said earlier this is not a true exchange where you're not really trading in these carbon credits. Do you envision a world where you do create an exchange? How far are we away from that world?
That's a great question, David. I do believe at some point, given the volume that has to be done, that there will be an exchange of some sort where we can buy and sell a standardized product. Again, remember, these are retired, kind of like a maturity, I guess, of a swap or a bond. And so there will be trading, I think, at some point. I don't think we're really that close to that, but can I see that in the next 3 to 5 years? Yeah, I can see that happening.
I think we're all hoping that we can establish a price for carbon, but it's in these kinds of activities that we'll be able to do it, because it needs to scale and it needs to be something that is more understandable to the financial markets.
Tom, you've dealt with exchanges a lot as a trader and otherwise. Are there things you've learned that you would apply here? You could do it better?
I think, certainly my experiences are going to help us establish something that people will want to work on and work with us on. And so hopefully together as an industry, we can get something together that people want to standardize and then want to trade in a liquid fashion. And that liquidity always brings in more money, which is the scale part of this.